You can see where the paddock is situated, right in the centre of town. That is actually the Parliament building there, where the nation's political debates take place. It's going to be the backdrop for our debate this week on what is, I suppose, the hot topic in terms of the title race, the big question. So we've got Ted Kravitz and David Croft here to debate this. Will Nico Rosberg crack under the pressure? He's had a 43-point championship lead a couple of races ago. It's now just down to 9 points. So is that what's gone wrong? Is it all in Nico Rosberg's head? I'm going to have you, David, make the case that no, he's still mentally strong, it's just something else. And Ted, you're going to argue that yes, it's got to him, Hamilton or whatever, the burden of leading the title race has got to him. So, I mean, to be fair to him, he has had some issues in these last couple of races, so can't we just put down his low point scoring in those to that?
No, Craig, I'm afraid to say the Azeri national government speaker could not say it louder than the megaphones on the side of Government House, calling it out for everybody to hear. Rosberg's thrown away the championship in 2 races. Well, that's the argument anyway. Personally, I don't think he has. There are plenty more races for him to assert his early season dominance, but certainly he's making heavy going of it. I mean, that's to be sure. I think he still believes that he can do it, and that in a sense is the most important bit. He's seen enough vulnerabilities in Hamilton's game, if you like, to think that he can actually make this year his. Whether it's performance off the start line, we saw Lewis Hamilton getting another bad start. Nico Rosberg, had Lewis not pushed him off the track, or rather raced him off the track, would have been leading the race, and then it might have been a very different Canadian Grand Prix just last week. So I believe that Rosberg still thinks he's got it to win, but he's made very heavy weather of it.
I mean, it's a question for the future, isn't it? How is it going to hurt him? 43 points ahead and seemingly cruising. Now it's an effective reset. Surely that's got to be psychologically damaging, David.
Yeah, was he arguing there that Nico Rosberg's fine and dandy, or was he arguing against Nico Rosberg? I'm not quite sure, because the boy is fine and dandy. If you look back here, Canada was one of those races that didn't go his way, but there were mitigating circumstances with that one. He tried to fight his teammate too hard. If he'd have backed out at turn 1, he'd have lived to have fought another day. He'd have been 3rd, he wouldn't have been down in 8th. You know, that proves to me that he's still trying to scrap away with Lewis. Spain all went wrong because he tried to defend against Lewis. Monaco went wrong because, quite frankly, he couldn't get any heat into his tyres or to his brakes, and he was off the pace then, and that was it, game over. You couldn't get it back again. Yes, that leader's gone down, but Nico Rosberg has never said, I'm going to be champion this year. He's never said, I'm thinking about the championship this year. He's always said, I'm taking it race by race. So why, now he's 43 points to 9 points, does that make any difference if that's his mindset?
Wouldn't Fernando Alonso have been thinking championship, don't do something stupid, make him reel me in? If it's 7 points at a time, so be it. I'll get my chances during the 6 or 7 races it will take to reel me in at that rate.
I think that's what Rosberg was trying to do, but when he was doing that, it all went horribly wrong. He was not trying to do anything particularly clever or aggressive the last 2 races, but circumstances worked against him. He would have taken damage limitation and 2 second places and try to minimize the gap, but he's up against a mercenary, figuratively speaking, in Lewis Hamilton. Lewis is an absolute mercenary. He will do anything and everything to win. So to argue for my case, Rosberg's lost it, faced with a resurgent Hamilton. I actually agree with David. I think it's going to be much tighter.
Right, you made it, but address this, David. You could reinterpret the last 7 or 8 races. Hamilton didn't have anything to race for, loses the last 3 last year. When they've qualified and Hamilton hasn't had any kind of mechanical fault, Hamilton has out-qualified Rosberg. So, I mean, can we reread this Rosberg period of ascendancy as maybe just good fortune?
Well, yeah. And bad fortune for Lewis, but fortune is prevalent in all world sport, and every single race driver will tell you, I might have won a race, but I was a bit lucky to do it, or I should have won that race and I was really unlucky that I didn't. And do you know what? Don't ever say that a racing driver has nothing to race for. Every time they get in that car, they are racing to the max. They want to go out and win. So Lewis Hamilton might have won the title with 3 races to go. It doesn't mean he wasn't trying last year, and it does mean that Nico Rosberg was actually driving really well. There's a long, long way to go this season. Look, if we have this debate again in 6 races' time and the gap is 50 points in Lewis Hamilton's favour, yeah, you're probably right, Nico Rosberg off then, but it's not at the moment. There's a long, long way to go.
Okay, last word from you, Ted.
I think this must be a world first, Craig, and I tend to agree with David. I think the sun is obviously 35 degrees we're going to get here in Baku today, down on the Caspian Sea, and I think probably the sun has got to me. But no, I agree with David. I mean, it would be a shame for Rosberg to have thrown away the championship so soon, but it does, on the face of it, look like he's doing a pretty good job of doing that.
Okay, fair enough, guys. With motion denied or whatever it is,
Carried.
the legalese term. Well, yeah, we don't think Rosberg is cracking, but he will have to answer those questions, and having to answer them in itself is an uncomfortable position for him to be in right now.